Okay, hi everyone. So the photo book collaboration, which is right here, and this is out on the table where you got your name tags, if anyone hasn't had a chance yet to take a look. And if you're interested in how you can get a copy, you can take one of these green cards and email Eileen, who deserves a lot of credit from the law school at the University of Alberta for getting the printing done and pulling everything together for us. And I just want to start by acknowledging Jess and Tammy, who I'm so grateful are here today, and also Joanne is here, who is another student in the Wahkohtowin Project Intensive, and I'm really grateful that you're here today, and I'm also really grateful for the amazing energy that Jess and Tammy and Joanne all brought to the course. So we were trying to figure out how to get the youth involved in the Wahkohtowin project, and that was a request that was made by our community partner in Assiniboia in Grand Cache and Sousa Creek, and it was also something that was really important to me and to our whole U of A teaching team. The Wahkohtowin project was a collaboration on the U of A side from Native Studies and the Faculty of Law and myself. I'm a PhD student in the Department of Political Science, but they let me in anyway. Just tell you about myself, Renee Beausoleil, and my ancestors are British, Scottish, and French. I was raised mainly in Anishinaabe territory in Ontario, and I've been here in Treaty 6 territory for 2 years now, and I'm really grateful to be here. So when we talk about Wahkohtowin, Shailene Jobin articulated more about this project that we had, the Wahkohtowin project, yesterday, and she talked about how Harold Cardinal writes about Wahkohtowin as the laws governing relations and the governance of relations. And as I've been learning in this process, and as Harold Cardinal explains, at the center of Wahkohtowin is these family relations, these kinship relations. And then by analogy to kinship relations, you can expand out to relations with other Indigenous peoples and with non-Indigenous people, and to relations also to non-human beings and to the earth. Shailene talked yesterday about trying to move past, in the work that we're trying to do, past these really superficial acts of reconciliation that unfortunately we see happen too often, to moving to actually deconstructing knowledge and reconstructing knowledge and embedding Indigenous theories in the things that we do. So in this project, we were learning about an embedded Indigenous theory of Wahkohtowin, and at the same time, Wahkohtowin was embedded in everything that we did, how we worked in a team and at the camp and beyond. As Hadley put it, what we were trying to do was better recognize and rebuild Wahkohtowin through Wahkohtowin. What we tried to do. We did it at the university, in the classroom, and also our classroom was also in the camp in Sousa Creek, where we learned about Cree law and governance through moose-hide tanning and through the relationships that we built. And everyone had a chance to be a learner and a teacher. I just wanted to go back to this, just to show, this picture shows really also about the intergenerational aspect of Wahkohtowin. Oh, thank you. So the intergenerational aspect of Wahkohtowin is really important, and this was at the launch of the photo book on Thursday night. Some of you were probably there, and it was so awesome to see the voice of these young women brought forward and centered in this work, and they stood up with their mother and their grandmother, and were able to all speak together in the opening prayer on Thursday. So as was reiterated by the community teaching team, Wahkohtowin is not enough on its own, actually. It has to be understood along with other concepts and principles, and a really important aspect of this is Miowachitowin. So there's interrelatedness, but Miowachitowin speaks to good relations and principles of respect and reciprocity that are some of the necessary parts of good relationships. And in that spirit, in that course, we were each asked to think about what our gifts are and what we bring and what we could contribute. And so in my PhD coursework, I had just learned about this digital storytelling method, and we learned a lot from the first year of the course. I wouldn't say it's a perfect method, but it is a method, and it's definitely accessible, and it's visual, and what it did was it allowed us to make use of all these beautiful photos that everybody was taking anyway and that we all take on our cell phones all the time, and it pulls them together and actually is a way of articulating really important concepts of Cree law and governance that we were learning. it was out on a walk in Victoria with a friend of many of ours, Val Napoleon, when we came up with this question that we would ask the youth and the students in their partnerships to answer through photos and then a few words that describe the photos. And that's what is in the book. And so the question was, what are the practical ways you see people demonstrating Wahkohtowin and Miawachitowin? And I have a few examples that are from the book, but I don't want to go through them myself because I want to give this space to Tammy and Jess to speak about their experience, and you can talk about whatever you want about the
Danse, hello. My name is Tammy LaMouche. I am from the Gift Lake Métis settlement. Being part of this Wahkohtowin project was probably one of the most amazing experiences I've had at U of A as a student, and to go back to a place that took me back to my roots. I grew up learning from my Musum and my Kukum, and learning how to harvest traditional foods, and they'd take me hunting, and just being immersed in that environment again in the language at Susa Creek was something that was really important to me, because it's definitely taking me back to where I was brought up, and something that I want to reclaim, because moving to Edmonton, Gift Lake is kind of a long distance away, so being able to want to go back to my community and learn again, and that's something that's really important to me. So this is what this course really taught me, and learning from not only the elders but the youth as well, teaching. They taught us a lot, actually. So it was an incredible experience for sure, and learning Wahkohtowin in a way where through like kinship, and me and Jess actually went back to the community maybe last weekend for a memorial round dance, and it was nice to see the members again, and and I think that goes back again to the relationships that we built and how important this course was. So I'm happy to have established that relationship with the AWN community members and the elders. And I also wanted to acknowledge Shailene, Hadley, Tara, and Renee for their incredible work with this project, and for choosing me to be part of it. So thank you. Hi.
Hello, Tansei. My name is Jessica Sanderson. I'm from James Smith Cree Nation and Musqueam. So when I was selected to be a part of this project, I didn't know what to expect, I guess, in sense of what Wahkohtowin and Miawachitowin meant to me. So the elements of Wahkohtowin and Miawachitowin basically just reawakened the revitalization of my connection to the land, oral stories and ceremony, and Cree natural laws. So this photo here was taken at the opening reception on Thursday. So this was actually the hide that we worked on right in Susa Creek. And this was actually my first time ever tanning or prepping a moose hide, which really, like, it was just a revitalization of being Nehiao Isqueo as a Cree woman and reconnecting to what my great-grandparents did, because that connection was lost through intergenerational trauma. Sorry, I'm just a little nervous. But so we developed this photo book, and I had the opportunity of working with Abigail, my youth, who was really young, and she was so knowledgeable about living out and on the land in Susa Creek. So if you have an opportunity of just looking at the photo book, I'm just going to reflect back on one of the photos that she chose, and it was respect for the land, the sun, and the trees. And Abigail said that, quoting her, "Trees give us shelter, trees give us life." So we held hands around the center of a tree that supports 12 poles, And in this photo, where they're holding hands and looking up to the sun as we give thanks to the sun for giving life, the trees life, rather. So this interconnectedness between the land and the sun and the trees and us demonstrates how much we rely on each other to live the Wahkohtowin way. And I think that's just important. I think that in that moment, it was just memories started coming back to me growing up in Edmonton and growing up in my late grandmother's house and trying to those memories that came back to me was when I was young, living in the city. My grandmother had this big, huge apple tree in the backyard, and she gave us each a plastic bag, and she's like, I want you to go up that tree and go grab some apples. And so me and my cousins go up this tree, and as we're filling the bags, we're throwing them down, and we go back and fill another bag. So as we filled these bags, she would freeze these apples and make the most delicious apple soup out of these apples. And right in that moment, I'm just memories are just triggering, and I was always connected to the land, through the backyard of my grandmother in Edmonton. And that was really powerful for me because this course kind of reawakened that connection that I always had with the land. And I think this course was just so empowering. And I was asked by Renee to kind of talk about my experience and how this kind of evolved, I guess. And we learned just so much from the elders, the knowledge keepers, the teachers, Hadley, Shailene, Tara, and Renee, and my fellow students here who are now my Wahkohtowin family, As Tammy said, we went back to the community last weekend for the round dance, and honestly, we're family, and we're going to be always interconnected no matter where we live, where we are. We're always connected somehow, and those relationships are there. And so anyways, if I had to walk away with one message, my hopes are for the work to be continued for land-based learning in for example, in Sousa Creek. And I think if you are interested, please reach out to Hadley or Shailene, Tara, and Renee and see how we incorporate more land-based learning. But thank you. Hi.